Shabbat Shalom. Good evening. It looks like the lighting is working pretty well today. Praise the Most High. Shabbat Shalom. Greetings to the 12 tribes that are scattered into the four corners of the earth through slavery, through oppression, because of the sins of our fathers in worshiping other gods, who are now awakening and returning to the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the only true God, Yah, and only showed himself to that scattered people that is scattered into the four corners of the earth. And their awakening means the awakening of the earth. Welcome to you. Welcome also to those among the Gentiles that have also come to the truth of the only true God, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the scattered children of Israel, and are seeking through the Messiah, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, to gain perfect righteousness through faith in Messiah, through the Father. Greetings. Blessings upon those that are working in the healthcare field, trying to save lives. Blessings upon those that pick up garbage for us to keep our places clean. Blessings upon those that make deliveries for our convenience. Double blessings on those trying to deliver, trying to help, trying to reclaim boys and girls, men and women, children, teenagers from the clutches of human trafficking and sex slave operations, from forced prostitution and child prostitution, from pedophilia and child molestation, from child pornography and forced pornography on adults, brainwashing, and double curses on the ones perpetrating these abominable acts. Finally, blessings on the homeless. 600,000 men, women, and children in the United States of America, and the numbers are growing, and millions around the world in places like India, the Philippines, Afghanistan, Haiti, and other places, who don't have a roof over their head and don't know where their next meal is coming from. Blessings upon them, for theirs is the kingdom, and those that are trying to help, blessings upon them. Greetings to all that are in the chat, Brother Mark, Brother Yakoba, Ben Israel, Sister Wade, Bathaman, Isha, Stephen Kelly, Righteous is the Way, Tamar, Cody Cole, Brother Williams, Heavenly Garden. Shabbat Shalom to all of you. We have been studying the prophecies of Jeremiah, and we are at the tail end of the study of Jeremiah. We're in chapter 51. Now, 51 is a longer chapter than the other chapters that you'll find in Jeremiah. So it may take us tonight and possibly tomorrow, both studies, to complete chapter 51. But whatever the case may be, after we study this, we're planning on starting in Zephaniah, which is a short book. It may only take a weekend, but we will have to see what happens. And then after that, we're looking at Amos and Hosea. And so we'll be looking at those two prophets, who are the prophets of the northern tribes of Israel, after we study Zephaniah. So that's the lineup going forward. Then after that, we'll let to see what the Spirit of the Father dictates for us. We like to go into Revelation every year, if possible. We like to continually go into Revelation because of all the relevant events that are taking place. And so we just did Revelation. I think we ended earlier this year in Revelation 2021. And so we'll see how the Father leads us after we study Zephaniah, Amos, and Hosea, and then we'll go from there and see what we're going to do by the Spirit of the Most High. Welcome, Ricky, also. Shabbat Shalom. So my wife, I was just telling my wife, we were just talking about this tonight. The condition, the human condition on planet Earth is getting worse and worse. And what do I mean by the human condition? Especially this is true in the so-called developed nations. The so-called developed nations, the human condition is getting worse and worse. So just in terms of recent events, a young man and a teenager in Texas, y'all might have heard of this. He was being bullied. He was a slim, slightly built teenager. And he was being bullied in the school, in high school. He told his parents. His parents told the school. But apparently, nothing was done until the boy brought a gun to school and started shooting other kids that were bullying him. And so, unfortunately, as we know, this is not unusual. We hear about this, pretty often. I would say at least monthly, if not weekly, right? We have in our society, especially among Hebrews, but it's also among Caucasians and other races as well. But we have in our society women that want to be men. And they generally are alone or have gone through multiple relationships, unsuccessfully sticking with anyone because they're trying to be men and they don't understand why it's not working. We have men trying to be women and not happy and dying young and not understanding why. Because we're living in a society now where a lie becomes the truth and the truth becomes a lie. This is the society in which we live right now. And I think I'm not saying anything that you all don't see. Okay? And I'm just mentioning the tip of the iceberg. You have situations where a man and a woman, and this is the thing, you might go on a social media post like Facebook, right? And you'll see couples and they smile and they look like, they're completely happy and everything's all good until one of them kills the other one. So that you have people that are so used to putting on false fronts and fooling everybody, including themselves, until it's too late. Such was the case with the poor little girl, Gabby. The whole van thing and traveling the country and smiling and laughing and all that until they found her dead. And they're still looking for the boy. Okay? This is common. It's not unusual in our society. That's the sad thing about it. This is everything I've just told you is commonplace. It's not unusual. Okay? The other day, sheriff in Florida they made a massive bust of guns and drugs from some young men that were dealing these guns and drugs to other young men and teenagers and kids. And the sheriff was so happy to get these people off the street. And yet it made me think, the guns and drugs that these young men had, they had to pay for it. How did they get money to pay for it? Well, I don't know. But the drugs were the type of drugs that originate in other countries, like heroin, from poppy fields in places like Afghanistan. So it made me think. We being the powers of the government of the United States, have the capability to track down an Osama bin Laden in an apartment halfway around the world. But we don't know when there's planes and ships and cars and trains bringing drugs into this country from halfway around the world. And we don't know how young men who don't go to gun shows end up with Smith & Wessons and 9mm and automatic assault rifles. How do they end up with AKs? We don't know how that happens. But we could find a guy halfway around the world, so much so we could televise it to the president and his cabinets when we're about to kill him. We could put it on video. Does that sound logical to you? We could get a guy that believes in this country so much that he signs up to be a Marine. Now, the Marines, everybody know of the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, Coast Guard. The Marines, those dudes got to be tough because they're the first ones that go in to any conflict. They're the ones that go in first. They're the most courageous, bravest of all the soldiers in the military. Everybody knows that. And a lot of them get killed and understand when they sign up, they could get killed. So this Caucasian man believed in this country. And he went over there to fight in Afghanistan. Did several tours of fighting there. Saw many of his friends killed, heads blown off, body blown to pieces. Saw many little kids and families killed. And he was not happy with the failure. He himself said it was a failure in Afghanistan. After 20 years of war, he said, we failed. And he admitted that he was part of that, but he was upset because his superiors were not taking responsibility as he had been taught as a Marine for the failure. He said he was willing to give up his retirement that he fought for to bring out this truth. Well, that young man has now been arrested. No charges are pending against him. They say he's crazy. So they arrested him. And he's in jail right now. Does that sound logical to you? So these, what I just mentioned, between the relationships, between the mental problems, between the desperation, between the anger, the passion, the lust, I just gave you a tip of the iceberg. I told you just a couple weeks ago, you could look it up again. There are over 380,000 males and females under 21 missing in the United States. Many of them are victims of human trafficking. And I bet you before we said that, you didn't even know that. That's a lot of people, man. That's bigger than a lot of cities. 380,000. Missing in the United States. The United States has more people in jail than probably like the next 3 or 4 countries combined. Now, why is that? I don't know. But I will say this. This book tells us all about it. It predicts it. And in the day and age in which we live, if you read this book, you will understand you can't put your trust in man. Matter of fact, in this very book of Jeremiah, it teaches us that. In fact, it tells us, well, let's read it. Jeremiah. And we went through this in a Bible study. Jeremiah, let's see. Chapter 17. Jeremiah chapter 17. And this was the message to the Israelites before the captivity of Babylon. This was the message. And I think we already know, like when you're looking at, as we study Jeremiah now, 50 chapters, that Babylon in Jeremiah's time was a literal country, but he's also prophesying about the worldwide Babylon that we live in today. So keep that in mind. Jeremiah chapter 17, beginning at verse 1 and going down to verse 9 and 10. Actually, verse 10, from verse 1 to verse 10. Jeremiah chapter 17. The sin of Judah is written with a pen of iron and with the point of a diamond. It is graven upon the table of their heart and upon the horns of your altars. Whilst their children remember their altars and their groves by the green trees upon the high hills, O my mountain in the field, I will give thy substance and all thy treasures to the spoil, and thy high places for sin throughout all thy borders. And thou even thyself shalt discontinue from thine heritage that I gave thee. And I will cause thee to serve thine enemies in the land which thou knowest not. For ye have kindled the fire in mine anger, which shall burn forever. Talking to Judah here. Thus saith Yahweh, cursed be the man that trusteth in man. Wait, let's read that part again. Thus saith Yahweh, cursed be the man that trusteth in man, and maketh flesh his arm, whose heart departeth from Yahweh. He shall be like the heath in the desert, and shall not see when good cometh, but shall inhabit the parched places in the wilderness, in a salt land, and not inhabited. Cursed be the man that puts his trust in man. Now, I want to remind you, 666, Revelation 13, verse, what is that? Verse 17. Let's take a look. Revelation 13, 17. Let's remind you what this is about now, what we're dealing with the mark of the beast. Revelation 13, verse 18. Well, let me read verse 17 and 18. That no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. Let him hear his wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man. And his number is 666. Man was created on the 6th day. Man was created on the 6th day and fell to Asatan because man bought into the lie that he could be a god. In Revelation 13, you have the same three crew that you have, which we're going to study, I think, later tonight, in Revelation 16, which is the beast, the dragon, and the false prophet. Thank you, still blessed. Praise the Most High. The beast, the dragon, and the false prophet. And that is man's. That's all based in man's glory. The dragon told man, that is the devil, he could be a god. So you don't need to obey the Most High. You and Eve could be gods, or Eve, you and your husband could be gods, knowing good and evil. Okay? Man. The false prophet is the United States, which glorifies man in its religion, in its government, in its business. The beast is the Roman Catholic Church, a man-made religion of Christianity. Messiah never created a religion separate from what was taught to Abraham. See, people need to remember that. Messiah didn't do away. Christians teach you that. But Messiah did not do away with what Abraham had, what Isaac had, what Jacob had, what Moses had. He didn't do away with any of that. So where does Christianity come from being different from the law and the prophets? It doesn't exist in the Bible. Man created that. Started with Constantine. So you got the beast, the Roman Catholic Church, the dragon, the devil, and the false prophet, the United States of America, which are all present in Revelation 13 and in Revelation 16, is a man-based religious system. Remember, in Revelation 13, the main key word you keep hearing is worship. It's the worship of man. It's the honor of man. It's the glory of man. The world will always praise you when you're ready to glorify man. Always. Somebody gonna give you praise. You got a whole bunch of people that when you glorify Donald Trump, they'll be with you. They'll buy you stuff. They'll be your friend. They'll put you on TV. Glorifying man. You got a whole bunch of people that when Joe Biden or Barack Obama go somewhere, they're glorifying. Oh, we're on the same side. Glorifying man. Okay? People ready to do that. People ready to do it. That's the watchword today. Cursed is the man that trusteth in man. So let's continue back to Jeremiah 17. Jeremiah 17, verse 7. Blessed is the man that trusteth in Yahweh, in whose hope Yahweh is. For he shall be as the tree planted by the waters, that spreadeth out her roots by the river, and shall not see when heat cometh, but her leaf shall be green, and shall not be careful in the year of drought, neither shall cease from yielding fruit. The heart is deceitful above all things, and desperately wicked. Who can know it? I, Yahweh, search the heart. I try the reins, even to give every man according to his ways, according to the fruit of his doings. Let's compare that to the first Psalm. Psalms 1. Very short Psalm, but very powerful Psalm, especially what we're talking about right now. Psalms 1, the first Psalm. Watch this. Blessed is the man that walketh not in the counsel of the ungodly, nor standeth in the way of sinners, nor sitteth in the seat of the scornful. But his delight is in the law of Yahweh, and in his law doth he meditate day and night. For he shall be like a tree planted by the rivers of water. It's like we read there in Jeremiah, that bringeth forth his fruit in his season. His leaf also shall not wither, and whatsoever he doeth shall prosper. The ungodly are not so, but are like the chaff which the wind driveth away. Notice they mention chaff, as opposed to wheat. Therefore the ungodly shall not stand in the judgment, nor sinners in the congregation of the righteous. For Yahweh knoweth the way of the righteous, but the way of the ungodly shall perish. So how do we put our trust in the Most High? First thing, brethren, first thing, we acknowledge that he is the only God. Yah is the only God. There's none else. He's the only creator. He's the only true God. And why? We understand why in Jeremiah 17 that curse was placed, that word was given so strong to Judah. Amos chapter 3 verse 7. Y'all know Amos chapter 3 verse 7. Amos 3:7. What'd he say? I'm sorry. Amos 3:1-2, not 7. 3:1-2. Notice what he said. Hear this word that Yahweh has spoken against you, O children of Israel, against the whole family, which I brought up from the land of Egypt, saying, you only have I known of all the families of the earth. Therefore, I will punish you for all your iniquities. He only knows one people. I know that's hard to take. It's not like he's not going to save people that are not Israelites. He is. Because he said he studies all the hearts. But he has only shown himself to one group, the scattered children of Israel. That's why he's hardest on us, because he showed himself to our fathers. Well, brethren, we know that was a long time ago. And now the awakening is happening. And we need to learn to put our trust in the God of our fathers. So you come to him in humility, in meekness. You come to him in repentance, in the name of his appointed representative, Messiah, that he speaks to us through. And you trust not in man, in his word. Trust in his word. Listen for his spirit. This is important. We talk about receiving perfect righteousness. The Father's righteousness is perfect. The Father's righteousness is perfect. Okay? There's nothing, no one has perfect righteousness but him. Psalm 18, verse Let me start at verse. Oh man, I'm going to. Man, this is so steep. I'm gonna start at verse 25. I'm gonna start at verse 25. And I'm gonna go down to verse 34, but we're really talking about verse 30. So from verse 25 to verse 34, but we really, the focus is on verse 30 for the point of what we're talking about here. With the merciful, thou wilt show thyself merciful. With the upright, thou wilt show thyself upright. With the pure, thou wilt show thyself pure. With the froward, thou wilt show thyself froward. For thou wilt save the afflicted people, but wilt bring down high looks. For thou wilt light my candle. Yahweh, my Most High, will enlighten my darkness. For by thee I have run through a troop. By my Most High I have leaped over a wall. As for the Most High, his way is perfect. The word of Yahweh is tried. He is a buckler to all those that trust in him. For who is the Most High save Yahweh? And who is a rock save our Most High? It is the Most High that girdeth me with strength and maketh my way perfect. He maketh my feet like hinds' feet and setteth me upon my high places. He teaches my hands to war so that a bow of steel is broken by mine arms. Yah will prepare us for anything we need preparation for. We're talking about today when the call to flee comes. When the call to flee comes. Several times during the course of our history, the Israelite people, in the word of the Most High, he has given a call to flee. Okay? Sometimes he gives a call to flee Judah or to flee the northern kingdom. Sometimes he gives a call to flee other places. Sometimes he gives a call to flee Babylon. You will know the call to flee by the Spirit in your heart and in your spirit that's working with you. And also that will be doubled up by his prophets, his servants. Okay? Back to Amos. Now we go to chapter 3, verse 7. Amos chapter 3, verse 7. Amos 3, 7. Verse 7, surely the Most High Yahweh will do nothing, but he revealeth his secret unto his servants, the prophets. And y'all know who the prophets are in this last days, who he's raising up. So you want to listen for that voice, and you want to also ask the Most High, of course, ask your Father in heaven for a discerning spirit in his righteousness, that he would discern, because there's a lot of voices out here now, right? You want to just hear his. Because I'm telling you right now, I think you all know, there are people that the Most High is sending away from the United States, away from the UK. And some of them are going to different parts of the earth. Now, Babylon, as I mentioned to you, is a worldwide system. But also, I also told you, there's some places going to be hotter than other places. And I want to tell you, I think you already understand, the places that have produced the most sin and suffering have to answer for that. And so the plagues that are already starting to show up in the land are going to get hotter. And some of us, he's going to keep in the middle of it, like Daniel was in the middle of it. And like Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah was in the middle of it. Y'all know that. They was in the middle, literally, of a furnace and didn't get burned. Okay? Daniel was literally thrown in a den of lions and didn't get eaten. Some of us got to deal with that. But some people, he's telling us to leave. Right? I think you're seeing it. People are going to the continent of Africa, to different nations. People are going to Mexico, Central America, South America. People going to the Far East, trying to get away from the United States, Canada, UK, the so-called developed nations. The Most High is causing people to leave. He has me in the Washington, D.C. area, at least right now. That's what he wants me to be. But some people he's sending away. And all I'm saying to y'all to say all that is when the calls to flee comes, listen for the Father's voice. He's going to guide you. Okay. Whether like in times past, when he told some of the brethren, leave Jerusalem. Messiah himself said, flee from Jerusalem. When you see X, Y, and Z, flee from Jerusalem. He said, because they're going to come wrath on Jerusalem and on this people. And talking about the Judah, us. And of course, he was right. He will always show his people, as we just read, he will do nothing, but he reveals his secrets to the servants, the prophets. He tells his people, remember now, the revelation of Jesus Christ, which Yah gave unto him to show unto his servants things which must shortly come to pass. He will always do that. Just like, we talk about relationships, and many people have experienced bad relationships, but if you want to be honest, the Most High always try to warn you when you're going down the wrong path of relationship. He will always try to warn you. The test is, are you listening for his voice, and are you willing to obey if it goes against what you want? See, relationships are like the big test today, right? Nobody wants to be lonely. Nobody wants to be alone. It's a big thing not to be lonely and alone, right? And so people get tested. They get tempted. And the key thing is, are you going to listen for the voice when he tells you to walk away? And are you going to listen to the voice when he tells you this is the one, even if it's not what you would have chose? It's a spiritual thing. You got to have the discerning spirit of the Father. Only he can give it to you. I can't give it to you. He could give it to you. He will give it through Messiah. Okay? And you need it especially now. Especially now. We just talked about all the craziness going on out here. So especially now, man my age had some company in Houston, Texas. And it was late. Him and the company, him and his wife and the person that they were hanging out with that night had a good time, and it got late. So the brother was getting ready to leave, and the husband said, I'll drop you off. And the wife said to him, it's dark, it's late. Baby, don't go. Stay here. Let him spend the night. No, I'm going to take him home. He about my age, about 60 years old. And he got in his car, dropped the brother off. And when he was coming back to his car, somebody demanded the keys that did not own the car. And when he said no, they killed him and took the car. He was just dropping somebody off. This is the world in which we live. And again, I'm just telling you the tip of the iceberg. We talked about in the United States, 600,000 homeless people, 380,000 missing people under 21. Okay? Sex slavery, human trafficking, homelessness, murder. Most of these murderers, when you see people getting carjacked or you see people getting shot in the street, most of these people are teenagers. They're like 12, sometimes 14 years old, killing grown people for a couple of dollars. For a couple of dollars. Why would they do that? Because they're growing up with no parents. They're growing up with no upbringing, because the people that's supposed to be bringing them up ain't bringing them up. And you know what? It's a multi-generation thing, because the people that were supposed to bring them up wasn't brought up either, yet they had children. And the cycle continues. We need discerning spirit of the Father. We need to listen for his voice. We need to study and read his word and be guided. So when the call to flee comes, we know it's from him. Okay. My wife and I we have been moving so often. From the time we've been married, 37 years, we moved 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times. We moved so much that it was just about every 5 years it appeared. And my youngest daughter said, "This must be time for us to move because it's been 5 years when we came here." And the Most High was showing us something. We thought it was time to move because in the times past, he's showing us places. And he did show us the place we were living in before we came here, just like he did the previous place and the place before that. So we thought, okay, he's showing us this place. We're probably going to be here 5 years. We're probably going to leave. And we're ready to leave. As many of y'all know, we're thinking about maybe North Carolina, right? But as it turns out, no. He kept us right here. The owner of the house gave us a deal below the market, which was going crazy here in this area. And we knew it was the Most High telling us, stay right here. And we couldn't find anything anywhere else. And the Spirit wouldn't let us. I was looking in South Carolina. I was looking in Georgia. And I was sure it was North Carolina. No. Stay right here. Okay. But it took a little battle going back and forth. I was trying to discern and praying before we came to that conclusion. So I'm saying to y'all, you have to do the same thing. Wrestling with the Most High for his will. For his will. Okay? For his will. So that when the call comes, if it's time for you to go, he will open the doors for you to go and you'll know where you're supposed to go. I can't tell you where you're supposed to go. It's not from anybody to tell you where you're supposed to go. It's for the Father to tell you where you're supposed to go. But you have to be listening for his voice. And he'll test you like he did with us. He'll test you in relationships. You don't have to go into a bad relationship. You just have to listen to the Father and not to your flesh. And when the sign is there, take it, take what it is for what it is. Like my brother that was marrying a sister he met. Oh, she was so pretty. Oh, she had a master's degree. Oh, she was educated. She had saved money. She was statuesque. He told me, brother, she checks all my boxes. He met her, and within 3 weeks, he married her until she started smacking him up in his face. And I said, when did she start doing that? And he said, before we got married. I said, she was hitting you before you got married and you still married her? Yeah, I just thought we could work with it. Sign was there, wasn't it? But he didn't want to hear it. He saw her. She has to be the one. She checks my boxes. Brethren, let me give you an advice. Don't have no boxes. Your box should be listen to the Father's Spirit. That should be your box. Listen to the Father's Spirit. Listen to the Father's word. That's your box. Okay, that's your box. I'm going to be real with you. When I got down on my knees to pray at age 22, well, I think I was 21 or 22. I had just broken up with a girlfriend I had had for 4 years. She didn't know why I was breaking up with her, but the Spirit was telling me, this is not her. This is not her. He kept reinforcing that. And one night it came to me strong, and I realized I can't see her no more. I didn't know what to do. So I got on my knees, and I prayed to the Father. And I told the Father, just like I'm ready to tell you. I said, Father, if it's for me never to get married, I'm willing to do that. I was swallowing hard because that was hard. Because I was deadly serious. I wasn't joking. It was just me in my apartment, little studio apartment in Manhattan. And I said, if you don't want me to ever get married and be like the Apostle Paul, I'll do that. And if you want me to get married, no matter how long it takes for me to wait, I'll do that. And whoever it is you want for me, just let me know it's her. Brethren, I'm going to tell you, honestly, this is 38 years ago. And I'm like, that's the scariest prayer I ever did. I was scared. And I'm going to be quite honest with you. I'm going to be totally honest, and I'm not trying to diss anybody. I'm trying to tell you how real this was. Okay. Being raised in the 60s and 70s in the Black Power movement, on principle, I would never see a Caucasian girl. I purposely would never see them because I felt like I was hurting my sisters. Felt like I would be a betrayer. Now, I'm not saying I was right in that thought. I'm just trying to tell you where I'm coming from. I'm not saying that's right or wrong. I'm not speaking against so-called interracial marriage. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying where I was. Okay? Where I was. So I thought to myself, suppose he has you marry a white woman. And that thought scared me. I'm trying to tell you, it scared me. And I swallowed real hard. But I thought to myself, if that's who he chooses for me, then that's who's for me. And I'll take her. That's how I thought. Okay, that's how I thought. Because I wanted his will, not mine. See, blessed is the man that trusted in Yahweh. I knew that part even then at age 21 or 22. I knew that. So I knew now I can trust the Most High. I was scared. And one thing, even at that age, that I knew, it was not going to be somebody I would have chose for myself. I knew that. I was scared it might be a Caucasian woman because it was against everything that I have been brought up to believe and follow. So, but I was willing to do it if that's what he wanted. Now, he introduced me to this Puerto Rican lady. And I ended up being with her for 37 years. I didn't even think of Puerto Rican, to be honest with you. I didn't even think of that. Didn't even come to my mind. It was either black or white, the way I was thinking. He had something else in store for me. Okay. But I just needed to know it was from him. And brethren, let me tell you, no matter what part of life it is, that's all you need to know. That's really what you really need to know above all things. Is this the Father's will? Whatever it is, where you're supposed to live, where you're supposed to work, who you're supposed to be with, who you're not supposed to be with. You just need to know. And I'm talking about now, I'm not talking to people that don't believe in the Most High, that's here just out of curiosity. I'm talking about people that know the Creator, that want to serve and glorify him. Right? Yahweh, and his son Messiah, that understand who the true Israelites are. That's what I'm talking about. It's not about what we want. It's about what glorifies Father. And so you want to make sure, and in this dangerous time in which we live, you want to make sure that you're hearing his voice. Now, there's been many times. Now, not that time, because I did hear him tell me this is her, and he had to confirm this multiple times in multiple ways. I had to fast. I think I was fasting at that time 2 times a week. And I was praying 4 or 5, literally, times a day, not because I thought about Muslim, because I was scared and I wanted to make sure it was him. I wanted to make sure. And once I was sure, it took about maybe 9 months after he said this is her, for me to finally surrender to the Spirit and say, okay, let's go forward. So then I was ready. So that the day we was getting married, I remember the pastor said, man, you're surprisingly calm for a young man that's getting married. This is a big step. You know that, right? And I said, yes, I know. Because I was at that point had already decided, I was already known it was the Most High. And I was, I had struggled. Many times thinking, maybe call it off. No, call it off. Oh, no, can't call it off. Oh, I was going back and forth. Both of us was. It was a struggle. It wasn't easy. Okay. It's not easy. Look, let me tell you something. The life of walking with the Most High ain't easy. I'm just going to be honest with you. It's not. Because you're going to change. He's going to change you, and that's painful. He's going to change you. And let me tell you something else. If you want to be with a woman, or man, you want to be with a man, with a woman, and a woman, you want to be with a man, I'm going to guarantee you something. You're going to change. you're going to have to, and it's going to be painful. There's no such thing as happily ever after. That's for Disney World. You will learn to become one flesh and one spirit. And that's rewarding as, oh boy, that's rewarding. But I'm going to tell you something. Don't ever think when you get into a relationship that you're not going to change. You're going to change. If it's going to be successful. Both of you are going to change. And it's going to be painful. Because it's going to go against what you thought you were. 100% of the time. I'm guaranteeing you that. No doubt. And if it's going to last, you're going to grow. Okay, you're going to grow. If it's of the Most High. Unless you're one of these people that didn't listen and you just, you're going against all of the signs he's given you and you're hanging on to somebody you shouldn't be with, that's a different story. I'll never forget. We're going to get into more Jeremiah right now, but I want to tell you this one more thing. Okay? My brother, I got two brothers. Both of them, I'm the oldest. My youngest brother, prolific womanizer. I mean, I've heard exploits of my father, who's now 81 years old, from back in the 30s and 40s or 40s and 50s and 60s. But my brother, I actually witnessed things that I can't even, if I told you, you wouldn't believe it. I mean, he was a womanizer on a prolific level. I mean, it was crazy. Okay, I mean, I've never seen anything like it before or since. I really couldn't. And so one day, he had many really, I felt sorry for the girls. I used to think to myself, she must have done something wrong to somebody because she didn't know what she was getting with. Because my brother was going to use her, take her for what he could get, and then leave her. And he didn't care if she was pregnant or whatever. He just didn't care. He's still like that. But anyway, one day he had a girl that he was with, nice girl, as you. He would normally, sucker nice girls into thinking he was doing something for them until he, showed the real colors. But this particular day, he came over to her, and this is the only time I've ever seen him do this. He came over to her, and he told me about it. He said, I broke up with her. I said, okay, so what? He said, no. He said, I didn't take nothing from her. I broke up with her. I said, wait, what? That was not like him. So I said, well, what happened? He said, well, I told her. He said, and I'm telling you, my brother has been with 100, 200, 300. I mean, I'm not lying. Okay. This one, I don't know why this one must have been blessed to the Most High. So he said to her, I'm breaking up with you. And she was crying and she was upset. Why? Blah, blah, blah. And he said to her, God has somebody else for you that's going to take care of you. And as long as I'm with you, you're not going to find him. And he left her. And that was true. And that's what I'm saying to you. As long as you make the wrong decision, you can't look at the open door Yah's got for you to make the right decision. You see what I'm saying? And so we must, again, the point now, we must listen for the voice of the Spirit. It's a spiritual thing. We're in a spiritual war. Remember that. And so you must listen for your commander. Your commanding officer is giving you instructions and you got to hear him, because the voice that's not your commanding officer is playing to your flesh. He's playing to your desires. Okay. Notice again, James chapter 1. James chapter 1. James chapter 1. Let's see. I'm going to start at verse 12. James chapter 1, I'm going to start at verse 12 and go down to verse 16. James chapter 1 from 12 to 16. Then we'll go right into Jeremiah. But this is all teeing up for what we're going to study in Jeremiah. Blessed is the man that endureth temptation. For when he is tried, he shall receive the crown of life, which the master hath promised to them that love him. Let no man say when he is tempted, I am tempted of Yahweh. For Yahweh cannot be tempted with evil, neither tempteth he any man. But watch this. Every man is tempted when he is drawn away of his own lust and enticed. Then when lust hath conceived, it bringeth forth sin. And sin, when it is finished, bringeth forth death. Do not err, my beloved brethren. So the other voice that's not your commander is going to be appealing to what he knows you want. See, the devil knows what you want. He knows what you want. It's like a crackhead. A dealer knows what a crackhead wants. He wants crack, right? The dealer knows that. An addict, he knows what the addict wants. So when the addict coming at him, he know what he's coming for, right? Well, the devil considers all of us crackheads. And he knows what all of us want. And he knows where we're weak and how to attack it. He knows that. So now we must go to our commander. And it would always be a battle between what we want and what Yah wants. Eventually, as time goes on, I'm noticing our will is Yah's will. In some cases, we'll learn that. And that's part of the seal, talking about the seal of the living Most High. When we receive the seal, at that point, everything we want is what he wants. But until that point, there's a lot of pain to go through and a lot of lessons to learn for all of us. This is especially true in relationships. It's especially true. Okay, it's especially true in relationships. The difference between what Yah picks for us and what we pick for ourselves. And it's all a spiritual battle. All of it. And so the more we're listening to Father and his word, the more likely we're going to be all right, because then he's never going to lead us wrong. Wherever he leads you to go, whoever he leads you to be with, it's going to be hard now, but it's going to be the right place and you're going to be safe. You're going to be blessed. Blessed is the man or the woman that trusteth in Yahweh, that maketh Yahweh his hope. Right? So when the call to flee comes to you, and eventually it's going to come to most of us. Like I said, some of us are going to be left here in the fire. And I don't know where I've had dreams where he's had me in other countries. And I know he's sending me there. I don't know if it's to permanently be in another country or to just go there and do work for him and come back here. I don't know. But wherever he wants you to be is the best place for you to be. And wherever he wants you to, or whoever he wants you to be with or not, is the best situation for you. But we have to trust that above what we want. Okay? And it takes work. It's not easy. It takes work. I ain't gonna front. It takes work. Okay? It does. At the end of the day, you'll be all right, though. At the end of the day, you'll be all right. That's the key thing. You want to be standing on that sea of glass when it's all said and done. Okay? That's what you want. We coming upon that soon. Okay? Let's look at Jeremiah chapter 51. Jeremiah chapter 51. Jeremiah chapter 51, beginning at verse 1. Now, again, we're going to see here the curse on Babylon. This is Nebuchadnezzar's kingdom, Babylon. But it's the kingdom of which we're all a part, Babylon. The centerpiece of which is the orders coming from the Vatican, a one world government, and the United States with other developed nations carrying out the orders of the whore. Okay, understand that. It's a worldwide system. It's a banking system. It's a political system. It's a religious system. The religious system consists basically, there's a lot of religions in the earth, but there's three major religions. I think you understand. They call them the so-called Abrahamic religions, although honestly and factually, when you read the Bible, Abraham had nothing to do with any of them, but they call them Abrahamic. It's amazing, isn't it? That's how the devil deceives people. But you got Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. Okay. The Bible speaks of all three in negative connotations. All three. Judaism is found in this king of the south of Daniel chapter 11. It's also found in Revelation chapters 8 and 9. Okay, Judaism, especially chapter 9. Islam is there. That's the one that comes up out of the smoke, out of the bottomless pit. That's called the destroyer. Christianity, we know, is the whore. Also the little horn of Rome. Okay, we know that. Judaism are those that say they are Jews and are not, but the synagogue of Satan. The ones that try to dwell in the tents of Shem, but they're Japhet and become Edomites. Talks about all three negatively. Yet those are the three major religions on the planet right now. Which is why the Bible says all the world wonders after the beast and worships the dragon. Okay, all the world. So now it's talking about Babylon, which includes this system that we're in. Remember that? Jeremiah chapter 51, beginning at verse 1. Thus saith Yahweh, behold, I will raise up against Babylon and against them that dwell in the midst of them that rise up against me a destroying wind. Remember that? Hold the winds until we have sealed the servants of our Most High in their foreheads. I will raise up a destroying wind on Babylon. Verse 2. And will send unto Babylon fanners that shall fan her and shall empty her land. For in the day of trouble they shall be against her round about. Again, compare that. Daniel 12:1. At that time shall Michael stand up, the great prince, which standeth for the children of thy people. And there shall be a time of trouble such as never was since there was a nation, even to that same time. And at that time, Daniel, thy people, the Israelites, shall be delivered, everyone that shall be found written in the book. Here, and I will send unto Babylon fanners that shall fan her and shall empty her land. For in the day of trouble, time of trouble such as never was, they shall be against her round about. Against him that bendeth, let the archer bend his bow. Against him that lifteth himself up in his brigadine, and spare ye not her young men, destroy ye utterly all her host. Thus the slain shall fall in the land of the Chaldeans, and they that are thrust through in her streets. For Israel have not been, he's bringing up Daniel's people now. Remember, thy people shall be delivered, Daniel, all that be found. Who's Daniel's people? Jeremiah chapter 51, verse 5. For Israel have not been forsaken, nor Judah of his Most High, of Yahweh of hosts, though their land was filled with sin against the Holy One of Israel. Now I want you to please discern here. He mentions Israel and Judah separately to make us understand that we're dealing with the northern and the southern kingdom. Right? We read in Jeremiah, I think it was 49, where he said, or chapter 50, where he said he's going to bring Judah and Israel together again. We read also in Isaiah chapter 11, he's going to call the outcasts of Israel and the dispersed of Judah. We read also in Ezekiel chapter 37, if you remember, he said, take two sticks and make them one. What are the two sticks? He said, one is for Israel and one is for Ephraim, he said, which is representing the northern kingdom, and one is for Judah. And we're going to make them one stick again. They're not going to be two anymore. Remember? He says it in multiple prophets. So he's letting us know it's not only the ancient Babylon, which was really against Judah, but it's modern Babylon, which is including the northern and the southern kingdom. Okay, he's going to bring back the whole thing, the northern and the southern kingdom. For Israel have not been forsaken, nor Judah of his Most High, of Yahweh of hosts, though their land was filled with sin against the Holy One of Israel. So although they sinned and got scattered, he still remembers them. See? Now, I want to just say this. This is so plainly written in all the scriptures that these three major religions have to do a couple of things. They have to ignore what I just read. They have to ignore it, which is what Judaism does, talking about only the first 5 books of Moses, right? Right? They don't know, which is what Islam does, because the Quran don't talk about Israel as the nation and the southern and northern kingdom coming together. It don't talk about that in the Quran. And I ain't read the whole Quran. So if I'm wrong, please, somebody show me the Quran where it says they're going to bring Israel and Judah together of the tribes of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Please tell me that if it's in the Quran. But I kind of am confident it's not. Okay? Even though I've never read it. So I can't speak for sure. But please, any Islamic out there, please show me if it says that. Then we done touched on Judaism. We done touched on some Christianity. You know what Christianity does? Either they completely ignore these scriptures and just focus on the New Testament, or they say we're the spiritual Israel. We Christians are spiritual Israel. Have y'all heard that one? We Christians are spiritual Israel. So they're doing completely away with the bloodline, completely, in order to make themselves relevant. This is what it is, relevant, because there's no spiritual Israel in the Bible. There's none. It doesn't exist. Okay, there's no spiritual Israel. There's Israel. See, the devil tries to make other forms of his stuff. He had Nimrod, Nebuchadnezzar, now he got Rome. He tries to reinvent himself all the time. Yah does not need to reinvent himself. I am Yahweh, I change not. Isn't that what he said? I am Yahweh, I change not. He don't reinvent himself. He don't come back in different forms and change his ways. He is what he is. He says what he says and he means it. Israel has not been forsaken, nor Judah of his God. Okay? See how they have to change. They have to all, misconstrue. Only the first 5 books of Moses. Only the New Testament. No, we're spiritual Israel. No, Quran includes all religions are true. All of worship is the same God. The Bible doesn't say we all worship the same God. That's why he says, serve no other gods. Because there are people worshiping different ones. Okay? There's only one true one. He's only showing himself to Israel and Judah. Now, unless the Arabs are Israel and Judah, which somebody had to show me that, then they can't be right. According to this book, they can't be right. Right? Y'all follow my logic? So in other words, if there's a bloodline Israel and a bloodline Judah, and they only have the only ones Yah has chosen to show himself to and teach his statutes to, if there's a Quran that has an Israel and Judah in it and says Israel and Judah, then the Arabs must be the chosen people, right? But if it doesn't say that, that means it's opposite of what I'm saying here. Somebody's lying. That's all I'm saying. Somebody's lying. Somebody's been bamboozled. Somebody's been hoodwinked. That's all I'm saying. All due respect. And if I'm wrong, please, you Israelites, you Islamic people out there, you Muslims, please show me where it says that he's going to bring Israel and Judah back to his land, his people that are scattered. Please show me that. Please show me that in the Quran, because even the Apocrypha says that they're scattered. Even the Apocrypha, and I've read that one, even that says it. And I don't believe that's, that's not even like, to me, inspired by the Spirit of the Father. But even that says it. Okay? So show me where it says that. Because in the Bible, the centerpiece of the Bible is Israel and Judah. That's the centerpiece here. Israel have not been forsaken, nor Judah of their Most High. I'm only doing all this, listen to me now, because I believe in the Muslim world, there are people that are going to come to this truth. In the Muslim world, there are sincere men that are going to stand up when they find this truth. I'm not talking about people that's ready to go cut somebody up because they spoke against Muhammad or spoke against the Quran, so they go ready to stab them up. No, I'm talking about sincere men whose mind is touched by the Spirit of the Father. I believe among the Muslims, there's going to be a bunch of them that's come to this truth. and it's going to stand for the Most High. That's why you hear me mentioning among the Edomites, as we're going to read when we look at Amos and Hosea. There's going to be Edomites that come to the truth. And of course, there's going to be people that are now sitting in pagan Christian churches that's going to come out. Speaking of that, verse 6, Jeremiah 51, verse 6, flee out of the midst of Babylon. Deliver every man his soul. Be not cut off in her iniquity. For this is the time of Yahweh's vengeance. He will render unto her a recompense. Where have we read that before? Flee out of the midst of Babylon. Be not cut off in her iniquity. For it is the time of Yahweh. We read something like that before, didn't we? I believe we heard it in the book of Revelation, have we not? I believe we did. Notice the similarity. Revelation chapter 18. Revelation chapter 18, who was written in the first century AD, several hundred years after what we read in Jeremiah. Several hundred years. Okay, so what is it talking about? Revelation chapter 18, verse 4. And I heard another voice from heaven saying, come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins, and that ye receive not of her plagues. Verse 5, for her sins have reached into heaven, and Yahweh hath remembered her iniquities. Isn't that very similar to Jeremiah chapter 51, verse 6? Flee out of the midst of Babylon, and deliver every man his soul. Be not cut off in her iniquity, for this is the time of Yahweh's vengeance. He will render unto her a recompense. Now, let me remind you of how to flee from Babylon by the scriptures. There are three ways we get out of Babylon. Simply moving out of the United States is not leaving Babylon, because the whole world is Babylon. The whole world is Babylon. Like I mentioned, there are places where it's going to get hotter than other places. It's going to be hotter where the sin was the hottest, where the iniquity was the hottest, where the pride was the hottest. It's going to be hot. So he might be removing us to other places, but we're going to have problems there too. Don't get it twisted. You got problems no matter where you go, but it's going to be worse in some places than others, obviously. But the first step in fleeing Babylon is to do with worship. Thou shalt have no other gods. You see, brethren, when you understand who the true God is, Yahweh of the Israelite people, because he has shown himself to nobody else. That's what the scriptures say. People like to argue with me. You're thinking that he only should. I'm not thinking nothing. I'm only showing you what the scriptures say. Amos 3, verse 1 and 2. Right? Psalm 147, 19 and 20. Right? Deuteronomy chapter 14, verse 2. Right? I mean, in others. I'm only telling you what the scriptures say. I'm not thinking anything. It's not what I think. That don't matter. What does the scripture say? That's what matters, at least to me. So he's only showing himself to one people. There's only one true God. Once you understand that, and you know that that's the one you're supposed to be worshiping, that's the start of you going on the right path. Returning to him. That's the start right there. That's the first commandment. I am the Lord. I'm going to say it the way they wrote it in the King James. I'm the Lord thy God, which brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image, wood, cross, Islamic stone, or any likeness, white Jesus, of anything that is in heaven above, or in the earth beneath, or in the waters under the earth. Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them. For I, the Lord thy God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers unto the children, unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me, and showing thousands mercy that love me and keep my commandments. You got to understand who that God is, because that's what the mark of the beast is really about. It's about the image. It's about all these other religions, these big three that worship a different God than the one we're talking about here. It's a different one. Or should I say, a different three. Okay, different. That's the first step in understanding. You got to understand who the truth. And I tell people, I tell you now, I tell you all the time, Ask, get on your knees. If you think your God is Allah, get on your knees in secret, not 5 times a day where everybody can see you like you pious. No. Go to the secret place where you can ask him, I want you to show me who you really are. And be ready for his answer. I want you, Father, to show me who you really are. Oh, creator who made trees and sky. I don't even know your name. This man says your name is Yahweh. Somebody says it's Yahushua. Somebody says it's Allah. Please show me who you are. Show me. Be ready for his answer. Because he will. Okay? And he will show you. He will show you who he is. He will show you where to go. And there's going to be a battle because it's not who you think he is. It's going to be a battle. Okay? Going to be a battle. So, yes, flee out of the midst of Babylon. That means stop worshiping other gods. Step 1. Stop worshiping other gods. Worship Yah. He's the God of the Israelite people. The God of the ones that's in ghettos. The God of the ones that don't even know who they are yet. The gods are the ones that have been enslaved. That's the true one. Then, once you're worshiping him and he's your God, the rest will take care of itself. You say, how? Yes, the rest will take care of itself. Because when you're worshiping him and you're not involved with the big 3, you're not going to be able to buy or sell. Eventually, they're going to stop you from buying or selling. You ain't got to worry about that one. It will come to you. You will not be able to buy or sell. They will freeze your assets. We talked about this Wednesday. They'll freeze your assets. Whatever checks you had coming will stop. Social Security, stop. Savings, gone. They will take all of that. Then you'll know. Because now you'll be separated from the system by force. See, once you serve the true God, the only true one, and you start going toward him to give him glory, the rest will take care of itself. Then it's automatic pilot. See, you ain't got to worry about it then, because then they'll tell you, we need you to sign these things. We need you to prove that you're not in one of those terrorist organizations, that you're not in one of those cults, because we're finding that the cults are causing all kinds of mind control problems and sexual perversions, and they're going to tell you all of that. So we just want to make sure that you're okay. You know, I think you're okay, but we just want to make sure you're okay. And you say, no, I'm not signing anything. I don't want to. No, I'm an Israelite. Oh, are you sure that's the way you want to go? Are you sure that's what you want to go? You know, those people are cults, right? I mean, it's all over the news. They're sexual perverts. They mind control people. They're not part of any real church. It's going to go that way. And they're going to snatch all your stuff. And it's going to be your family and your friends that say, they moved to Africa. Where? Oh, they moved to Ghana. Where? I'm not sure. And they'll be all on you. And they'll be contacting the Ghanaian government. And there'll be a struggle because the Ghanaian government or the Zambian government or the Gambian government or the Rwandan government, whichever one, or you're in the Philippines, the Philippine government or the Mexican government or whatever one, Panama, Ecuador, Chile, whichever one you decide to go to, they'll be battling with the U.S. government. And they'll be trying to protect you at first because they're sovereign nations, but eventually they're going to give in. But the Most High will protect you. He'll be with you. He'll guide you, whatever mountains, whatever deserts, whatever tropical jungles there are there. He'll guide you. You'll be all right. Just like our fathers were in the desert. He'll protect us too. Okay? But that's what's going to happen. And it's going to be your family. It's going to be your former church brethren. It's going to be for your former co-workers, people you used to hang out with. They're going to be the ones. People that look like you. They're going to be the ones. You know why? Like this. It's your cousin, right? Ain't you that brother? Ain't you that dude's cousin? You go to his religious services? You believe his Bible study? No, not me. Nah, not me. No. I know he was crazy. I knew he was crazy. Matter of fact, he moved over there to this place over here. This is where he went. I got an old number of his here. Brethren, it's coming. That's when you know you ain't got to worry about taking a jab or any of that. No, they're gonna come to you. They will find you. And you won't be able to buy or sell. That's step 2 of getting out of Babylon. Because now you're cut off from the system completely. Your social security number won't matter. Your bank account number won't matter. Your credit cards will be cut off. You won't have nothing but the clothes on your back and your trust in the Most High. Then there's step 3, the final step. When Messiah comes and we are taken up on the sea of glass. Look, Revelation chapter 15. Actually, let's start in 14. Revelation chapter 14. We're going to get more into this tomorrow by the grace of the Most High. But Revelation chapter 14, beginning at verse 14. And I looked, and behold, a white cloud. And upon the cloud one sat like unto the Son of Man, having on his head a golden crown, and in his hand a sharp sickle. And another angel came out of the temple, crying with a loud voice to him that sat on the cloud, thrust in thy sickle and reap, for the time is come for thee to reap, for the harvest is ripe. And he that sat on the cloud thrust in his sickle in the earth, and the earth was reaped, taking the wheat. That's Messiah, taking the wheat. We'll talk about where in a second. But the Messiah is taking the wheat. What's left when he takes the wheat? Tares, right? And another angel came out of the temple, which is in heaven, he also having a sharp sickle. And another angel came out from the altar, which had power over fire. And he cried with a loud cry to him that had the sharp sickle, saying, thrust in thy sharp sickle, and gather the clusters of the vine of the earth, for her grapes are fully ripe. And the angel thrust in his sickle into the earth, and gathered the vine of the earth, and cast it into the great winepress of the wrath of Yahweh. And the winepress was trodden without the city, that is the New Jerusalem city. And blood came out of the winepress, even to the horses' bridles, by the space of 1,600 furlongs. Now, Isaiah 60 tells us that that's happening to the Edomites. That's what that one's for. There's others, but there's some that's going to surrender after the fact. I'm not sure when that happens or how, but the Bible does tell us there's some that's going to surrender after the fact. But right this point right here, where are we going? Where is he taking us? Revelation chapter 15, verse 1. And I saw another sign in heaven, great and marvelous, 7 angels having the 7 last plagues. For in them is filled up the wrath of Yahweh. See, the wrath of Yahweh again. There it was, the great winepress of the wrath of Yahweh. Here it is again, the wrath of Yahweh. Verse 2. And I saw, as it were, a sea of glass mingled with fire. And them that had gotten the victory over the beast and over his image and over his mark and over the number of his name stand on the sea of glass, having the harps of Yahweh. The harps, Revelation chapter 14, verse 2. And I heard verse 1 and 2. And I looked, and lo, a lamb stood on Mount Zion, and with him 144,000, having his father's name in their foreheads. That's why I mentioned the beast in his image, the time of 144,000. It's now. Okay. And I heard a voice from heaven as the voice of many waters and the sound of great thunder. And I heard the voice of harpers harping with their harps. And they sung, as it were, a new song. We're going to read that in a second. Before the throne, or before the 4 beasts and the elders. And no man could learn that song but the 144,000 which were redeemed from the earth. So you got the voice of harpers, the 144,000. Then Revelation chapter 7 tells you there's a numberless multitude with palm branches in their hands. So you got a group in the middle with harps, and you got the group with the palm branches in the hand, the greater number of the redeemed. Palm branches are what is used in the Feast of Tabernacles. They bought palm branches to make booths, remember? So now, chapter 15 again, verse 3. And they sing the song of Moses, the servant of Yahweh, and the song of the Lamb. See, the 144,000 are going to sing a song of Moses and the Lamb. That's the song when it says, only they know it. Why? They have an experience that only has been experienced by Moses and Messiah. I'll tell you, there's several aspects to this experience. Let me give you one. Moses, remember, spoke to the Father directly through the cloud. Remember that? Father said, if I have a prophet, I'll speak to that prophet in visions and dreams. But my servant Moses is not so. I speak to him like he's one of my friends, face to face. Messiah didn't have no intercessor. Messiah prayed directly to the Father because he's Messiah. Well, what's that have to do with the 144,000? At some point before the return of Messiah, the 144,000 and those with them, which include men, women, and children, those with them will have to be praying directly to the Father with no intercessor, because Messiah will be stepped out from between man and Yah and be on his way back, and Yah have to deal with us directly. Whereas when he looks on sin, that's why you see the wrath of Yahweh. When he looks on sin, that's what comes out, wrath. But on those of us that are sealed in his righteousness, mercy. That's why we'll be able to sing this song. And there's other things like it also, being that it's the time of trouble, such as never was. Of course, there's going to be other things. But this is the thing. Brethren, it's no small thing for you to walk away from your bank account, from your Social Security, from your savings, from your house, from your apartment, and walk out into a jungle, into a desert, into a mountain without knowing nothing what's going on, where your next meal is come from. That ain't nothing easy, y'all. And people chasing you to kill you. Ain't no joke. There ain't no joke. And unlike this laundry boy, we ain't got nobody helping us except Father Yah. See, this boy got somebody helping him. That's why they can't find him. Well, we ain't got nobody helping us but Father. That ain't no joke. Nobody's ever dealt like that and then lived without sin, directly dealing with Father Yahweh in the seal of the Father's righteousness. Remember when Moses was out in the mountain in Exodus 34 for 40 days and 40 nights? He didn't drink and he didn't eat for 40 days and 40 nights. And he came down with the 2 tables of the covenant in his hand and didn't realize that his face was glowing. His face was glowing so much that people were scared to look at him. He had to wear a veil over his face because they were scared to look at him because he had been in the presence of Father. That's why we don't have to worry about it. But we won't know that until we dip our foot in the water. See, we have to be out there first, trusting first. That's why we'll be able to sing a song that no man can sing. All the people of the past that'll be resurrected, they won't have to be able to sing that song because we would have dealt with that. But we'd be prepared for it. Yah will prepare us for it. He will. That's why I'm saying, listen for his voice. Listen for his spirit. Ask for the discernment. Follow his word. He won't lead you wrong. He will never lead you wrong. Not his people. Remember, Israel has not been forsaken of their Most High, nor Judah of Yahweh. Okay? We got to trust that because we're going to be tested on that for real, for real. Okay? So now he said, chapter 15 of Revelation, verse 3, and they sing the song of Moses, the servant of Yahweh, and the song of the Lamb. See? Song of Moses and the Lamb. Great and marvelous are thy works, Yahweh Al Shaddai. Just and true are thy ways, thou King of saints. Who shall not fear thee, O Yahweh, and glorify thy name? For thou only art holy. For all nations shall come and worship before thee, for thy judgments are made manifest. That's where we'll be when the plagues, the 7 last plagues, start to fall on the earth. That's where we'll be. That's why there's silence in heaven about the space of half an hour. That's about the time of the Feast of Tabernacles. And the 7th plague, well, we'll deal with that tomorrow. But I want to tell you something. You're going to be bugging when we read the rest of chapter 51. You're going to be bugging. Because this is not what you learn in Christianity or Islam or any of that. Talk about jihad. You're going to see what happens in chapter 51. But now I'm setting the stage. So you see, we'll be taken on the sea of glass. There's not no secret rapture either. Everybody's going to see it. Everybody's going to hear it. It's going to be loud. It's going to be scary. The plague's going to fall. And watch what happens next. Watch what happens. There ain't going to be no secret rapture. Ain't no such thing as a secret rapture. It's not in the Bible. But we just read we'd be standing on the sea of glass. We just read it. We just read he collects the harvest. We just read it. I didn't make that up. Okay? I didn't make that up. And so we're going to be on the sea of glass, with the Father's throne, with Messiah, 144,000. So there's the literal number of men, 144,000, but there's people with them. I say, watch Noah. Noah represented 144,000. He gave a message of warning of destruction to the earth. And so you had Noah, and then you had his 3 sons and their wives and Noah's wives. So it was 1 plus 7, right? Think about it like that. The 144,000 plus 7. 7's a perfect number. See that? So there was 8 total, but it was Noah was the prophet. He was the only one that was the prophet. And then there were those that were with him. Same thing. There's the 144,000, and there are those that will be with them. There were the 12 apostles, but then there were other disciples. Y'all following? And there's no number to them. See, there's no number to them. You don't number Israel. You only number the men prepared for war, 144,000. You don't number the rest of the people. Remember, they weren't to be numbered. You understand? That's why it's called a numberless multitude. Most people don't get that. But that's, if you follow the Bible, that's the way it goes. He don't number. He said to David, don't number them. Don't number. Israel, I'll make you as the stars of heaven. Don't number. But he numbers the men for war. The book of Numbers keeps doing that. Number the men 20 years old and up prepared for war. The men. That's 144,000. Okay? We'll read more tomorrow by the grace of the Most High. Kept you a little longer than I intended. But praise the Most High. We're going to continue in Jeremiah chapter 51. We got more to look at. You're going to see some things. Praise the Most High Yahweh. Praise his name. Praise his holy name. I want to thank you all for being here today, and those of you on YouTube land out there, and those in the room, praise the Most High. Thank you again for anybody that gave I don't even know what it's called, the super chat. Thank you for the super chat. Praise the Most High Yahweh. By the grace of the Most High, please may he bless you and keep you and cause his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you and lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. If I don't see you tomorrow morning, I hope that we'll both be together standing on this sea of glass, because that time is coming soon. It's moving up quick, y'all. So I hope you're there. I'm there. Your family's there. My family's there. Pray for me that I be faithful to the Most High, as I'm praying for you, that you also be faithful to the Most High, that we all listen for his voice and let us allow him to change us and prepare us for what's coming. It's his preparation. It's not ours. It's his. Remember what he said. The battle's not yours. It's his. We just have to trust him. And we have to trust him in his word. That's what he said. All right. Blessings to you. Shalom to you on this Shabbat. Enjoy the rest of the Sabbath. Rest. Somebody asked me, how do I keep the Sabbath? First thing you got to know when keeping the Sabbath. Rest. Rest. Don't let nothing stress you out. Don't think about anything that's going to stress you out. Give praise to Yah and rest. And I'm going to leave you with that and let you meditate on what that means. But what it does mean is no stress. You know that. Rest. Enjoy rest. Praise the Most High. Until we meet again. Shalom. Thank you, Yahuwah. Arise. Praise the Most High.